Welcome back. You're watching the morning show here on Arise News. The Central Bank of Nigeria on Friday revoked the operating license of Skye Bank with immediate effect, recapitalized the defunct bank, and renamed it with Polaris Bank Limited to safeguard depositors' funds and ensure system stability. This is how it all played out.
The operating license of Skye Bank PLC was on Friday withdrawn by the Central Bank of Nigeria. This move comes exactly 27 months after the CBN intervened in the ailing bank. While performance improved, it was not enough to stop Skye Bank's dependence on the Central Bank for liquidity support. The need to recapitalize the bank became more urgent, and its shareholders were unable to meet the capital requirement of the bank, which it lost to past bad loans. In order to avoid a run on the bank, the Central Bank, in consultation with the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation, NDIC, have established Polaris Bank, a bridge bank designed to assume the assets and liabilities of the now defunct Skye Bank. Assets Management Corporation of Nigeria, AMCON, provided the much-needed capital. The governor of Central Bank, Godwin Emefiele, disclosed this during a press briefing.
As it can no longer continue to live on borrowed times with indefinite liquidity support from the CBN. The shareholders of the bank have been unable to recapitalize the bank. The strategy is for the Assets Management Company of Nigeria, AMCON, to capitalize the bridge bank and begin the process of sourcing investors to buy out AMCON. By this decision, the license of the defunct Skye Bank is hereby revoked. The new owner is AMCON, that is owned by the CBN and the government. So what that means also is that I will say that the former shareholders, the bank shareholders fund haven't slided into negative territory, also meant that they had lost their investment in that bank.
And the NDIC has commenced its liquidation. The capitalization of Polaris Bank Limited, that is the bridge bank now, is being done by the Assets Management Corporation of Nigeria through the injection of about 786 billion to return the bank to soundness and profitability.
Polaris Bank will be led by the Group Managing Director, Tokunbo Abiru, who will oversee the transformation.
Tokunbo Abiru, the Group Managing Director of Skye Bank, now Polaris Bank, Nigeria, and an alumnus of Harvard Business School and Lagos Business School, joins us now in the studio to discuss the recent developments. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the morning show, Victoria. And I am happy to have you here. Yeah. All right, so the CBN has, yes, we're going to go straight to the question. So the CBN has passed a vote of confidence in the current board and management of Polaris Bank Limited that have held fort at the defunct Skye Bank PLC for the last 2 years, yes?
Yes.
Okay, or more. What would you say your biggest achievement is to date?
Wow, I think that, well, let me start by saying that our major achievement is, I'll categorize as being able to stabilize the bank. Now, if you recall, when the intervention was done in July, of course, there was a major run on the operations of the bank, and part of what we have had to do was to find a way to stabilize the bank. Okay. To date, that has been achieved. We have also been able to bring a very strong sense of corporate governance in the operations of the bank, and also we have also been able to achieve a lot of loan recoveries, which were the major problems leading to the intervention. And as we speak today, I think we'll have been able to achieve a recovery in excess of over 100 billion. And in this kind of, our climate today, that is a major achievement. Now, we didn't even stop at that. We have also improved on the collateral documentation of most of the non-performing loans, which has also made a lot of the debtors to come into terms with repayment structures, such as restructuring of the loans and all of that. So to a very large extent, I think that that is perhaps one of the reasons why the regulator, that's the CBN, have given a vote of confidence in us.
All right, now, obligations to depositors, correspondent banks, and other financial institutions locally and internationally. Tell us how they will be affected by this.
I mean, there is not going to be any major problem with our obligations of the bank that are due to either foreign or local creditors, because technically what has happened is that all our former foreign, the either two correspondent banks of the erstwhile Skye Bank will now be that of the Polaris Bank. So we'll continue. In the last 2 years, we have met all the obligations due to them, and we'll continue to do that in this current arrangement.
Okay, what would you say the fate of over 8,000 of your employees are now?
There is no problem. I think that part of what this arrangement has done, because what we have had now is a bridge bank arrangement, which automatically means that all the erstwhile staff of Skye Bank will migrate into the new Polaris Bank. So there is nothing to really worry about in terms of the safety of the jobs of the staff.
You told us how much you've done with Skye Bank in the past 2 years. Now, what are the expectations from Polaris Bank?
Now, the major expectation, one, is to reassure all stakeholders, particularly depositors and customers, that their accounts and their deposits will automatically migrate from the erstwhile Skye Bank into Polaris Bank. And Polaris Bank is a well-capitalized bank, which makes it a very strong bank with very strong corporate governance and values. And we have a very strong backing of the regulator, that's the Central Bank of Nigeria, and the NDIC.
So what are the focus areas now for the new bank?
Now, the focus of the new bank, we will make sure that we uphold high ethical values. We will also ensure that we place very high premium on corporate governance, because if you look at what has led to all these problems of the past, there were complete breakdown of corporate governance and abuse of insider-related loans of the former bank. Now, all those issues have been corrected in the last 2 years that we were in Skye Bank. Now, part of what we're now bundling into the new bank is to ensure that those values are maintained, and we ensure that the bank is run on a very creditable basis and with very strong sense of corporate governance.
Now, how did the acquisition of the defunct Main Street Bank affect the fortunes of your bank?
Well, I will say, again, let me take it back to how part of why the CBN had to intervene in the last time. Essentially, it was because the prudential ratios of the bank were declining. And I mean the liquidity ratios, the capital adequacy ratios. And part of what exacted that pressure on the bank was, again, you will say the acquisition of the defunct Main Street Bank. Ordinarily, when you are acquiring a bank of that size, a bank should ordinarily either go through a capital raising exercise. But the error of judgment made by the former managers of Skye Bank was to have funded that acquisition through internal funds of the bank, meaning the internal cash flow of the bank. And that exerted very strong pressures on the liquidity ratio of the bank. And it was part of what led to, what also aggravated the declining fortunes of the erstwhile Skye Bank.
Okay, so let me ask about your challenges. What are the challenges your management had to face with recapitalizing Skye Bank? The way I would put the challenges was, the first thing we had to do when we came in was to ensure that we tried to redetermine the actual state of play. Remember that we were, as of July 2016 when we came on board, we were new. We didn't know anything about the bank. So it was important that we actually re-established. We had to re-establish the actual state of affairs of the bank. So what did we do? We had to bring in auditors to come in and audit the books. So given the fact that with our coming, they had unfettered access to the books, it was clear to all of us, part of the revelations was that things were worse than it was presented. So, so from the get-go, we knew that the problems were deeper than what we thought they were. So thereon, we had
what we had to do was to make sure that we identify the problems properly and also make sure that we situate it properly by coming up with proposals as to how best to resolve these issues.
All right, now let's talk about non-performing loans and bad insider loans credit to your former directors. How did that affect the situation?
Well, the non-performing loans of the former directors, I must admit that we have been able to identify everything. We have been able to put them together, and we have also confronted them and confronted the former directors. And so what we have done is that those loans are properly secured today. Okay. So the collateral documentation is very strong, and most of them too have agreed to repayment arrangement. It will take a while, but we believe strongly.
What are you paying back?
What are they paying back?
What you say? What are they paying?
What are they paying back? Are they paying back?
No, they are gradually paying back. It's just that it's going to take a while.
Okay.
Because they are quite huge. I mean, there are serious violations of what we call the single obligor rule. So the loans are of very high proportions. So, but again, because banking is a very fragile business, so you have to be very sure that you ensure that your recovery is intact. So what we have had to do with them is to sit down with them, agree to properly securing those facilities and making sure that we have executed all the necessary security arrangements and also monitoring how the repayment will be ensured. Well,
most of these loans are very, very large. Why haven't they been handed to AMCON up to now? Why?
Once the bank, up until recently, remains a private entity. So the idea of handing over to AMCON ordinarily will not be the case. So part of what we are also meant to do, given our own experience as well, is to make sure that we chart a course that would ensure adequate and proper recovery, which is what we have done.
Now, what about avoiding bad loans in the future? We know that that is a problem with Nigerian banks. What have you put in place to avoid these bad loan situations getting out of hand?
Thank you very much. Now, part of what we identified is the fact that there was a strong breakdown of corporate governance. So, of course, that led to insider abuse. So, what we have done to date is to ensure that we adhere to very strict corporate governance structure. We have also made sure that the risk management culture has been improved upon. So all the gaps and the loopholes that we have discovered, we have made sure that we have also tightened them. So the issue of insider abuse will not arise again. The corporate governance and the culture is a better one today.
Okay, so what about investors? So what happens if new investors don't turn up in this new acquisition? What happens in the long term?
Well, I did not foresee that, and why? Why do I say that? I'm saying that from the point of view that what we have right now, that is Skye Bank now, moving on, becoming Polaris Bank, right? Is the fact that we are adequately capitalized, meaning that the negative capital that we have had has been corrected, and there is adequate capital in the bank today. Now, from a banking sense, what that means again is also that all the either two or the existing non-performing loans that have been properly provisioned, now as we recover, the fortunes of the bank gets better. So value is enhanced, and of course that will be an attraction for would-be investors.
Okay. So what are you going to do about depositors? How can we ensure that your depositors will not come on Monday and pull out their funds? Or how would you prevent that?
Number one, I want to assure depositors that their deposits are safe and secured. This has also been underscored and backed by the CBN and NDIC. The new Polaris Bank is a well-capitalized bank, stronger and better, and this is a fresh start. All their deposits have matured, all the accounts and deposits have been transferred into the new Polaris Bank, and they can go to all the various platforms that we have, the branches. We have over 370 branches all across the country with over 700 ATMs, and I'm sure they can transact all their business that either two were being done under the old Skye Bank in Polaris Bank, and which is a stronger brand and a well-capitalized bank.
Now, in handling a bridge bank, right, what we see is building up confidence, like you just answered Oji's question. You have to build back the confidence of the customers and all of that. Now, you've talked about, you've been reassuring them. What extra steps are you going to take? Investors, the customers, they need to feel confident in what is going on in Polaris Bank, the wave of change in Polaris Bank. What extra steps would you be taking to instill confidence in them?
Well, one, I think this, well, we had since started way back October 2016, because we all know, I mean, there is an open book in the country as to the situation of the former Skye Bank. The current board and management have been able to stabilize the bank. Now, this has been, I mean, it was based on that achievement that the regulator has developed very strong confidence in us, and we are bringing that same confidence into the new bank, and the customers should be rest assured. We have started the process of communication all over, all throughout this weekend. That will be continued, and we will make sure that the excellent services that they used to enjoy under the former bank is better served and better improved upon in this new arrangement. Okay, what about your shareholders? There are reports that say the shareholders are going to be affected by this. Well, I mean, I will leave that to the regulator to handle. We have a fresh bank today, you understand, and the fresh bank has assumed the assets and certain liabilities and deposit liabilities of the old bank. As regards the shareholders, I will leave that to the regulators to handle.
When you say you've inherited some liabilities, how do you plan on weathering the storm of some of these liabilities, if you care to share them with us?
The liabilities, well, in banking terms, deposits are referred to deposit liabilities. So in a bank that is well capitalized, you know, what's it? That's the focus. That's the focus. You ensure that all their needs are met as and when due. So when they ask for their deposit on demand, you make sure that they have access to their deposits. That is, What about your obligations to other banks? We have, ever since we came, even in the old bank, we were meeting those obligations. We will continue to meet them as they fall due in the new bank. All right.
Let's talk about the kind of work you have to do when it comes to rebranding the bank. It's going to be a very expensive venture. From changing the logos and all of that, checkbooks, how much do you think you're going to spend rebranding?
Well, off the top of my head, I cannot say this is exactly, but it's going to be reasonable. We are very cost conscious. You understand? But again, you cannot wish away the fact that it is also important that we refresh the brand. So we are changing everything.
And this is something the bank will have no problem funding?
No, this is a well-capitalized bank now. You understand? We're not going to spend our capital on that, but it is a necessity because we have got to do away with the past and refresh the present.
So let's also look at going forward. It's just the announcement was made on Friday, and then Monday you have a fresh page to write on. Yeah. What is the most important thing? What comes first? What's top on the list?
Top on the list is to make sure that customers' concerns
always comes first.
Exactly. Customers' concerns are met. And in banking, what you typically will expect is that some of them certainly will come forward for their deposit and all that. But I will need to reassure them that the deposits are safe and secure. For those who need to make withdrawals, either in whole or in part, we will also make sure that we attend to them.
Now, I know that some customers will still not be comfortable with this change, and there might be people attempting to pull out their funds. How are you going to handle that situation?
Well, certainly you cannot underplay that, but I want to believe that with the communication that we have done over this weekend, we have written to all the customers, almost all the customers. We have also educated all the internal customers, the staff. We've reached out to virtually all our customers, either through direct phone conversation or through emails. We believe that they will stand by us. They've always stood by us, and our service will also continue to ensure that they stand by us.
All right. So let's talk about the problem with the old bank, the Skye Bank. They had a recapitalization problem. We're not able to shore up the finances of the bank. But right now, what we see is that you're in a better place. Now, when it comes to growing the capitalization of the bank, making sure the bank is doing well, the challenges of the Nigerian bank, and having to work with Polaris Bank, which is a relatively new bank, what are your strategies to stay online?
I think what is critical, and what also I would say is almost all the stakeholders have been looking forward to, because almost everyone is, are aware of the challenges of the former Skye Bank, is the need to ensure that the capitalization is addressed, the issue of the capitalization. That has been done right now. It makes it a stronger bank.
Some credit has been given to you for implementing liquidity and cost management initiatives. Yeah. Do you have any more up your sleeves? Tell us how you did that, and if you have any more initiatives you're going to introduce to Polaris Bank.
Well, first and foremost, we will have to continue with all the good things that have made us to remain stable and alive to date. And all we need to do is to continuously improve on them. Liquidity management is key, and we're a stronger bank today. We have a very, very, very clean loan book, and we are also adequately capitalized. And those are the key factors that stakeholders look out for in a bank. And today, that is what the new Polaris Bank stands for.
Okay, how do you intend to address your retail strategy right now?
Well, that has ever been in the front burner for us. As we were anticipating this new brand of the bank, we had started long ago working with our consultants on the need to transform the bank to a proper retail bank. Now, that will also embrace the digital transformation. All that have been put in place. So all we just need to do right now is to roll it out, since we have a fresh start.
Okay. Mobile banking, digital banking.
Of course, they are all included under the digital transformation project. Currently, we have the old Skye Mobile that will automatically become the Polaris Mobile.
Some of the things that have been credited to you is bank rationalization, branch rationalization, review of service contracts, cash management operations, and settlement of matured foreign and bilateral obligations to other counterpieces. And I know that with you taking over Skye Bank, there was a plan in place. Yeah. So I know customers come first, but these are the other things that you have done in addition to shoring up confidence. What other plans do you have for Polaris?
No, I will always hinge our future on very strong corporate governance, because it was very clear to all of us that that was what caused the damage in the past. Now, in doing that, you also ensure that your operations are very transparent. Okay. Now, the rationalization that you talked about, came about because, if you recall, the Main Street Bank that was acquired was the defunct AfriBank. So part of why those rationalization were done was that you had duplication of branches all across the country. We have addressed that. We'll still continue to fine-tune what we do along the line, but we will just ensure that we remain a service-oriented bank. And with that, I'm sure stakeholder value will continue to be improved.
Thank you so much, Tokunbo. It was quite insightful to have you here, and I wish you good luck.
Thank you very much.
All right, that's all from Tokunbo. We'll take a short break now. When we come back, design creative and writer Osei Atomi will be here to discuss the issue of money marriage and her first book of poems and essays based on the female experience in Nigeria. Stay with us.